Think about the last time you stayed in a relationship or a job, long after you knew it wasn't going anywhere. Why is it so hard to just walk away? To understand why your mind does this, I want you to decide on these two scenarios. Be honest with yourself. How would you actually decide? Scenario 1. You are in a cinema. 20 minutes in, you realize the movie is a disaster. You know you won't enjoy the next 2 hours. Do you leave and reclaim your evening? Or do you stay and watch it until the end simply because you already paid for the ticket? Scenario 2. You've worked on a business idea for months. You've invested your savings and your sleep. But the data shows the market doesn't want it. Do you pivot immediately, or do you keep pouring money into it, hoping to break even? If you chose to stay or to keep paying, you chose option B, while rationality suggests option A is the only correct move. But the human mind isn't always rational. You have just encountered a powerful cognitive bias known as the sunk cost fallacy. Welcome to Mind Glitch. Today, we're deconstructing why we let the past hold our future hostage. What are sunk costs? To understand this bias, we have to look at the math. Specifically, the difference between a fixed cost and a sunk cost. Imagine you pay $5,000 for an elite, non-refundable professional certification or a year-long software license. That $5,000 is a sunk cost. The money is gone. Whether you use the software every day or never log in again, you cannot get that money back. It is a historical fact. Now imagine the maintenance costs. This is the time you have to spend every week studying for that certificate, or the monthly support fee for the software. These are fixed costs. They are ongoing investments of your time and money that you choose to pay because you believe they will give you a return in the future. The glitch happens when you realize the certification is no longer relevant to your career, or the software is obsolete. Rationality says, stop spending your time and monthly fees on it immediately. But your mind looks at that initial $5,000 and says, I can't quit now, I've already spent so much. This is the error. You are using an unrecoverable cost from the past to justify wasting more time and money in the future. You aren't saving your $5,000, it's already gone. All you are doing is throwing your current time after dead money. Why do we struggle to cut our losses? The answer lies in our chemistry. When we invest resources, whether it's time, money, or physical effort, the brain releases dopamine in the striatum. Neurobiological research shows that our mind effectively tags an objective with higher value based on the cost of the investment rather than the actual return. But there is a second player in this glitch, the amygdala. This is the brain's fear center. When you consider walking away from an investment, your amygdala treats that loss as a physical threat, triggering a fight or flight response. This is why quitting doesn't just feel like a logical decision. It feels like an emotional wound. To your ancestors, this was a survival feature. In an environment of extreme scarcity, quitting a hunt after 2 days meant starvation. Persistence was life. But in the modern world, this survival circuit misfires. Your mind treats a lost investment like a physical injury. It isn't trying to save your money, it's trying to avoid the biological pain of losing that past investment. The Concorde Fallacy. This cognitive bias doesn't just happen to individuals, it happens to nations. Consider the Concorde, a high-speed supersonic passenger jet developed in the 1960s. It was a masterpiece of engineering capable of crossing the Atlantic in under 4 hours. But it was also an economic disaster. It was incredibly expensive to build, consumed massive amounts of fuel, and could only fly a few specific routes. Historical evidence shows that British and French officials knew the project was a financial failure years before it was finished. But they didn't stop. Because it was a prestigious joint venture between two world powers, backing out would have been an international embarrassment. National pride was on the line. When our ego and our identity get tangled with our bank accounts, the bias becomes twice as dangerous. We aren't just protecting our money anymore, we're protecting our image. It's a perfect way to lose sight of reality. The closer you get, the harder you pull. When talking about the sunk cost fallacy, we must be careful. Not every investment is a lost cause. The difference lies in the attainability of the goal. Studies show that people increase their efforts as they get closer to completing a task. In psychology, this is known as the goal gradient effect. Imagine you are running a marathon. At the 35-kilometer mark, you are exhausted, but you find a way to push even harder. You aren't doing this because of the 35 kilometers you already ran. You do it because you know there are only 5 kilometers left. The same applies to finishing a degree, a certification, or a new skill. If the distance to the goal is clear, persistence is rational. But in a failing relationship, a dead-end job, or a broken project, there is no finish line in sight. Pushing through despite the red flags is a bias, not a virtue. How to avoid the sunk cost fallacy. So, how do we stop ourselves from investing more time, money, and effort into lost causes? The solution is the clean slate test. Ask yourself this: if I walked into this situation today with no history and no previous investment, would I choose to start this right now? If the answer is no, walk away. Another way is to reframe your thinking. If you catch yourself saying, "I've spent too much on this to quit now," stop. Instead of looking backward, look forward. Ask, I have already invested significant resources without seeing results. Does it really make sense to lose even more? If you're still stuck, try one more thing: the outsider perspective. If a friend came to you with this exact same situation, what advice would you give them? We are often far more rational when solving other people's problems than our own. The past is a historical fact that cannot be altered. Your only responsibility is to make the best possible decision for your current and future self. If you enjoy this content, follow the channel to learn more about avoiding cognitive biases.